Back to Kieran, the little guy from my doctoral study. Once we put together our problematic hypothesis, and you remember the hypothesis from this morning, the things that are setting events for problem behavior, in this case, this is the bath routine. The trigger was mom asking him to go have a bath. He engaged in a bunch of problem behavior and effectively escaped or delayed going to the bath. So that's our problem. When we start to build our solution, we start to build it on this particular diagram, and it's called a competing behavior pathway diagram. And essentially it helps us to kind of sketch out competing behaviors that compete with the problem behavior and the reinforcers that will be delivered for problem behavior versus or desired behavior versus the current things that are reinforcing problem behavior that we're not going to do anymore. So when I sat down and asked mom, or when the consultant sat down and asked mom in this situation, okay, when you ask him to go for a bath, in a perfect world, what do you want him to do? And of course, mom said, go have a bath, right? Like on his own, off you go. So that he complies with the parent request and he goes and has a bath. And then we looked at his functional assessment information and what we knew about things that reinforced him and thought, okay, well, if he does that, what kinds of things could be provided as a reinforcer after he goes and has a bath? Well, mom's praise and also a choice of activity. When you finish the bath, then you get to choose something to do. It's kind of a natural reinforcer, right? So there are a bunch of activities that he currently enjoys. We could use those as reinforcers and he can choose the one that he wants to do afterwards, but only if he goes and has a bath. Now in the short term, because we're not likely to get him going and having a bath right away like that, this is going to take a little time to teach. So we have sort of an interim behavior, an alternative replacement behavior that we're going to teach. And this has to be a behavior that essentially gets him the same thing as his problem behavior, but in a more appropriate manner. So in this case, it's not acceptable for him to say, well, can I not have a bath? Right? No parent is going to say, oh yeah, sure, we'll teach him that. Because, right, a few days in, we've got a really smelly kid. So asking for 5 more minutes with a preferred activity before going and having his bath, that was the alternative behavior. So essentially he's learning to request a delay. So mom says, can I have a bath? He asks 5 more minutes. Mom says, sure, turns on a timer. And then after 5 minutes, it's time to go, right? So that's the sort of outline of what our intervention is going to start to look like. And from that, we start to build our strategies. And we're going to build strategies for all of the components. So we have to have setting event strategies. And we have to have strategies around the antecedent triggers. And we have to have some strategies to teach these behaviors that we want him to learn to engage in. And we have to have strategies around how we respond to both appropriate and problematic behavior. So then we start to brainstorm those. And so in terms of setting event strategies for him, a visual schedule to increase predictability. So that was one of the strategies. We know that predictability was an issue for him. Things weren't very predictable. Let's use a visual schedule that lays out the bath routine so that he knows what's expected. Let's embed some choice within the routine. So instead of the bath being something entirely dictated, are there things about bath where he could be making some choices that might motivate him to partake in having a bath? And we'll take a look at what those choices were in a second. We can use a visual timer to show him when bath time will begin. Right? That was one of his issues too in terms of predictability, not understanding when is this demand going to come. Right? It kind of came out of the blue. So now we can use a timer so that he knows when mom's going to come and say, time to go. Make sure that he has some rest time before bath. So again, you remember that he's the kid who has a long day. He engages in a lot of physical activity and he's a bit fatigued. So they made sure that he had just a little downtime before we started the bath routine. And then finally, providing a snack before bath. Bath usually happened after dinner. And remember, he doesn't eat very well. So if he's hungry, he's more likely to engage in problem behavior. So we wanted to make sure that at least he wasn't, really hungry when mom starts to ask him to go for a bath, because Hunger makes it more likely that he'll engage in problem behavior. So these are all kind of big preventative things, right? Some things that we can do to prevent problem behavior. In terms of antecedent strategies, also designed to prevent problem behavior, mom would use positive contingency statements. If you do this, then you can that, right? If you go to the bath fast when mom asks you, then you can have such and such. And you're going to see her in a video clip doing just that. And then, as needed, pre-correcting him, reminding him to ask for 5 more minutes. What I'll tell you is that in actual fact, never did we have to teach him to ask for 5 more minutes because that opportunity never came up. When we implemented all of the other strategies, mom said, go have a bath. He went and had a bath. Wow. I know. It doesn't always happen quite that way. And that would have been all right. If he'd asked for 5 more minutes, right, we were all cool with that. That was okay. But for him, once we laid out the expectations, he kind of went, oh, okay. And we made baths sufficiently fun with some choices and stuff, so he wanted to. In terms of teaching, so teach him to ask for 5 more minutes, which in the end we actually didn't have to do. Teach him to refer to the visual timer to anticipate when the transition would occur. And that involved mom really kind of walking by every so often and pointing out the timer and saying, soon it's time for a bath soon, right? Just look at the clock, remember, right? Just letting him know that it's coming. In terms of consequence strategies, mom praised him if he was cooperative about going to the bath. So as soon as he started moving, she was praising him. Highly preferred activity if he cooperatively went and had his bath. So after bath, if he was cooperative, he would get to have the preferred activity at the end, right? You keep up your end of the deal, I keep up my end of the deal, okay? Little problem behaviors, essentially mom would ignore and redirect him back. So if he tried to ignore mom, like, I don't see you asking me, she'd get in his face and she'd take whatever he had in his hands away from him. Like, no, you're not ignoring me. I'm asking you to do this and I'm expecting that you're going to do this. And ignoring me isn't going to make me go away anymore, essentially, right? Resistance is futile. Minimize reinforcement by not letting him continue playing with toys. So if he didn't comply, if he didn't look at mom, she'd just take the stuff away, okay? You can refuse to go to the bathtub, but understand nothing fun is happening while you're refusing. It's not like you get to refuse and then play with toys. And I'm going to keep at you until you make your way. And again, in actuality, we never really had any problem behavior once we laid everything out. And a lot of it had to do with this visual. This was our primary visual for him. And it's a contingency map. It shows the 2 possible pathways of behavior with 2 possible outcomes. And so here's our antecedent. Mom says, go to bath. If you go to bath fast, and that was the word that we used for him because he's a bit of a dawdler, right? And fast as he can, because he does move somewhat slowly, but fast means you're actually making moves. And he understood fast as opposed to like poking around and not doing anything. So go to bath fast. You get bath toys. And this was one of his choices. We went out and got some pretty funky bath toys. And mom had a choice board of different symbols for those bath toys. And you'll see in the video, she'd offer up a choice. He gets to choose a bath toy. And he would Velcro his choice on the map just above bath toys. So now he's picked the really fun toy that he gets. And we've only got a few. And he only gets those toys at bath time. Right? Because if he has those toys all day, there's no reason to go to the bath to get to play with those toys because I've already played with them. The only time you get them is in the bathtub. Have your bath, and then the reinforcer at the end of the day ended up being Dress Bear, and this was just kind of happy luck. We started working on this routine just after Christmas, and he got a Build-A-Bear as a present for Christmas. And who knew that he was going to love this Build-A-Bear quite as much as he did? But he lived and died for that Build-A-Bear, and to like change the clothes on that Build-A-Bear. That was his idea of the best thing ever. And so we went and got different pajamas, right? Because we're having a bath and he's putting on his pajamas, might as well have pajamas for the bear. And so we got a few different sets of like cool pajamas for the bear. And that was the reinforcer. And let me tell you, he was like, all about getting through that bath so that I can put on my pajamas and then I'll change the bear's pajamas and we're all ready for bed, he and I. So that ended up being the reinforcer, Mom's praise and the Build-A-Bear. However, if Mom says go to bath and he does not go to bath fast, there are no bath toys, but you're still having a bath. Eventually, you will be in the tub, so understand, you're not getting out of bath, but it's not going to be nearly as fun as when you go when I ask. And you also don't get to do the bear. So no bear if you don't go to the bath fast. Right? And essentially, you say to him, well, which one of these do you want? Guess what he picks? He wants this one, and you back him up. This is what you need to do then. Okay? So let's take a look at that in video, and you'll see Mom work him through. This kid also has a sense of humor, and that's fine. You're going to see him kind of joke with Mom when she presents the bath toy choices. There are 4 on the board, so he's like, so I can pick 4? And they have a little back and forth, but it's all in good fun, right? And he picks, and then he goes off, and we're all good.
Time for your bath. You ready? You need to stop reading.
And he asks, can I have the blue dictionary?
No, not time for dictionary. It's time for bath. Okay? Remember? Go fast to your bedroom.
His bedroom is where he would get changed. He needed physical assistance for that. Then you get to pick your toys, have a bath, play with the toys in the bath.
Change your bear's clothes. If you don't go fast, what happens? No toys. Still have a bath. No, change the bear's clothes.
Watch where his finger points.
Okay? Are you ready to go fast?
He traces that path of go fast, pick a toy, have a bath, change the bear's clothes. Bear, he says? Yep, bear. So pick 1, says Mom. 4?
Which one you want?
4?
4? No. 1. Pick 1. Put it here. Not 2. No. No. Pick 1. You're being silly.
1, he says?
1, yes.
He's like, now I can actually fit 2 of these symbols in my hand at once. I wonder if she'll notice.
One. Put it here.
Yeah.
Which one do you want?
There's only room for 1, so at the end of the day, only 1 symbol's going on.
Yeah.
Remember, go fast. To your bedroom.
Yeah.
Come on, he says.
Told me about it.
Here he is, he's changed, he's in his little house coat. Now there happens to be a toy car on the floor. We might as well pick that up on our way. So Mom takes that. And now the bin of bath toys are on the counter in his sight. And he's like, okay, well, put up or shut up. I did my part. Get the toy. Let me see that you're holding up your end. Yep, there's the toy.
Remember, you need to be fast.
Right, there we are. Right, robe off, into the tub, done. It took us about 2 weeks to solve this. It didn't take very long, right? The consultant went in and coached mom a couple of times, right? Then watched mom and gave mom some feedback, and then kind of left mom on her own and checked in afterwards. Once mom had reliably got him having a bath, mom taught, there were older siblings that no longer lived in the home. She taught them to come and do it because sometimes they babysat. And then dad, when dad wasn't working night shift, she taught dad how to do the routine because sometimes mom would like to sit and have a glass of wine, read a book, right? Not do baths. So that way other people can do it. And everybody else could follow the tool. The tool was pretty simple. Here's the visual. Make him pick a choice and carry on. And he knew what to do as well. So that was that. One of the easier routines I've ever solved.